In the peaceful town of Tenderville, Oregon, Bill Williamson seems like a regular young man on the surface, but behind his innocent facade, there lives a danger that harbors hate toward the world around him. Tired of the boring monotony of his daily life, Bill feels suffocated by the constant bombardment of negative news and the hypocrisy of society. The film Rampage opens ominously as Bill detonates a gasoline-filled tank, while at the same time a van crashes at high speed into a building resembling a police station. The story then flashes back 2 days, slowly establishing the events leading up to this climactic moment of destruction. We first see Bill aggressively punching a heavy bag, visibly consumed with rage as he has vivid flashbacks to a police chase and a dead girl lying lifeless by the roadside. Filled with fiery fury, he practices shooting guns and intensely weightlifts, continuously reliving an unknown traumatic incident that has scarred him. Bill is 23, unemployed, and living with his parents, who gently encourage him during breakfast to move out on his own and find a job to support himself. But Bill always reacts with indifference, distractedly spilling milk on himself. To appease them, Bill offers a half-hearted solution. He'll continue living at home, but will try to get some kind of job and save up a bit of money. However, his parents want him to be self-sufficient and financially stable. After a tense breakfast argument, Bill grabs his keys and drives downtown to a coffee shop, where a petty squabble arises with the barista over his coffee order. Annoyed but saying nothing, Bill leaves the cafe in frustrated silence. Through more flashbacks, we learn that Bill also has to endure working at a garage owned by his father's friend Jim, who often demands Bill stop focusing all his attention on one car and instead service the other waiting vehicles first, which greatly aggravates Bill. After finishing a long and tedious shift at the garage, Bill meets up with his friend Evan at a local restaurant for lunch. At the counter, Evan tries to flirt with their waitress. She accidentally spills salad all over the front of their shirts as she collects their dishes. However, Bill doesn't let the incident escalate, and they decide to meet at 1 p.m. tomorrow to play some paintball shoot games. That night at the house, Bill lies alone in his messy room, reads lurid crime novels, and plays with various sharp weapons. He also prints some fake money while the crime news is going in the background. In the morning, he joins his parents again for breakfast as usual, reassuring them that he will apply to the schools as they suggested. But as soon as they leave for work, he immediately springs into action, rapidly loading multiple firearms before dressing himself entirely in menacing tactical armor. Driving a nondescript car, Bill calmly parks near a brown pickup truck and remotely directs it to accelerate into the front of the local police station. As the vehicle impacts and detonates in a massive gasoline-fueled explosion, Bill speeds his car to the other side of town, parking near a busy road. He emerges from his car and opens fire on an incoming truck with an assault rifle. Moving slowly, Bill then begins slaughtering terrified pedestrians who cross his path. In the distance, wailing police sirens pierce the morning air as a cruiser races toward the chaos. 2 uniformed officers exit their vehicle with guns drawn, attempting to halt Bill's rampage, and they open fire at him. Completely protected by his bulletproof vest and years of tactical training, he turns and fires repeatedly at the policemen, cutting them down in a burst of gunfire. Next, Bill enters a local convenience store, heartlessly annihilating a few customers and employees inside, and moves on. A scene emerges when Bill reaches the same coffee shop where he had a little fight before. He greets the same employee and asks, "Oh, hey man, you remember me?" Bill tells him to make the same double espresso macchiato coffee that he was previously dissatisfied with. Then he gives the barista 5 seconds to leave and kills him as soon as he makes a run for it out of the coffee shop. From there, Bill enters a women's spa at the shopping center, gathering the frightened staff and customers to stand before him. He removes his heavy mask and casually drinks water as he taunts them sadistically before departing the spa. Mere seconds later, though, he re-enters the spa. Bill hears the sobbing and pleading women, gathering them together in a corner and executes them one after the other in a savage yet close-range hail of gunfire. His next stop is the local senior center, where dozens of elderly residents are going about their daily routines, completely unaware of the heavily armed intruder amongst them. Bill slips past the occupied pensioners and approaches the main counter. He politely asks for a sandwich and an iced tea, as if he was just another hungry patron stopping in for lunch. After receiving his food, Bill sits alone at a table, silently eating his meal. This time he does not immediately unleash any violence upon them, simply observing with a strange detachment. After finishing his meal, he even plays a few friendly games of bingo with the announcer, an older gentleman who cheerfully interacts with the seniors. Finally done with his break, Bill departs the senior center without physically harming any of the seniors. But Bill's twisted rampage across the town is far from over. He climbs back into his stolen car and peels away towards the local bank, where he knows his father will be starting another workday. Inside the building, he coldly executes a few courageous men who attempted to stop his entry. Spotting his father, Bill grabs the older man's cell phone and forces him at gunpoint to unlock the bank vault and begin filling a duffel bag with money. To prove the money means nothing to him, Bill even goes so far as to light some bills on fire. His mind is warped beyond comprehension. Bill steals a police cruiser parked nearby and speeds away from the bank. Meanwhile, his mom calls Bill and advises him to reach home as soon as possible, not knowing that he is the main reason behind all the trouble that is happening. During his spell of destruction across the town, Bill stops briefly at the local restaurant, where just one day before, the waitress had accidentally spilled salad on his shirt. Still bitter about the minor incident, he first executes her. At the same time, Evan calls him and tells him he is waiting in the arena for him to come and play, as they promise to meet at 1 p.m. Bill says he's leaving and will meet him soon. While Bill is leaving for Evan, he spots a few police cars approaching him. Bill pauses to set up an improvised gasoline bomb, intending to ambush approaching police cruisers. With the cold detachment of a hardened killer, Bill detonates the explosive and sets the cars ablast. However, one damaged cruiser survives the blast and continues pursuit. He leads the last car to the arena where he's supposed to meet his unhinged friend Evan. As the trailing police close in, Bill abandons his car and destroys it with a final grenade as the last police car nears him. It was destroyed immediately, but one stubborn officer crawls from the wreckage, still chasing on foot before giving up due to a shot. He calls for backup. When Evans asks about being late, Bill casually explains he violently robbed the local bank, showing the bag of stolen cash as proof. Suddenly, Bill pulls out a taser and paralyzes his naive friend with an electric jolt. As Evan feebly tries to speak, Bill coldly explains he's going to make his so-called friend the martyr he always fancied himself to be, before ruthlessly executing him with a single close-range gunshot to the head. His twisted agenda complete, Bill escapes to a deserted warehouse where he methodically destroys the incriminating armor, eliminating evidence of his involvement. With his rampage finally over, Bill returns home just in time for dinner after his long day, acting as if nothing is out of the ordinary. He quietly joins his oblivious mother in front of the television as she gasps in horror watching breaking news coverage of the multiple mass shootings. Bill stays silent, playing the part of a concerned and frightened citizen. But inside, Bill secretly swells with dark satisfaction, knowing he is personally responsible for every twisted bit of the day's carnage and terror. The authorities eventually find Evan's deserted body at the paintball arena. Lacking any other suspects, they mistakenly assume that naive Evan must have been solely responsible for the string of murders. But in the final chilling moments, the cameras close in on Bill, sitting calmly at his computer. He secretly records himself carrying out the entire methodical massacre, gleefully confessing aloud to a camera that he proudly takes full credit for personally planning and then executing every single murder, explosion, and robbery that occurred. As the credits ominously come to a close, the chilling tale reaches its apparent conclusion. But in reality, the mysterious and vengeful Bill Williamson remains out there somewhere in the shadows, patiently waiting and planning to strike again when the time is right.